and welcome to Adulthood is a Project, the show where two sisters discuss the lessons learned and growth earned through the realities of life. I'm Charlie, and this is my sister Casey, and we're your hosts.
In today's episode, we're going to discuss building a community. We'll also discuss the ins and outs of why it's important to have one and how we choose them. Let's get started.
All right. Well, this is a fun topic for me. I've had a lot of lessons learned on this one over the years on choosing the right people to be a part of my community.
And as you know, for me, I trust about 3 people exactly in this world. I trust only these 3 people. And it's not that I don't talk to other people besides these 3 people. It's just if you're not one of these 3 people, I'm very selective with what I trust you with.
Lucky for me, I am one of your 3 people.
You are.
And that's something I wish that I had learned to do years ago. So I spent a lot of early years trusting some of the wrong people with everything. I've tended to have my life is an open book policy. I don't think anything about it. And if I think of you as a friend, I assume you're going to treat me as a friend. And I just trust you because I know anything you'd say to me, I would not share with others. And it took me a little too long in life to learn that that is not always the case.
Yeah, I will say, though, as far as making friends and things like that, I've always been slightly, I don't know, I would say jealous. I guess I would say more I have admired how you've always been able to build
You're
these
jealous of
friendships.
me.
So jealous of you.
Because I'm the cool sister.
I'm not going to stretch it that far.
Oh, okay.
But really, you've always had this huge circle of friends, and I've always thought, man, how do you do that? But it's because you do share a lot of your life with everybody. I absolutely don't.
Well, I think that's funny because I'm very blessed with the friends I have. That is 100% for sure. But it's like you say, you don't have the ability to share. I don't have the ability to keep anything to myself. My timing might be a little off, but I think like the last year and a half or so, I've started really trying to work on myself about keeping things to myself. Everyone does not have to know everything about your life. It's okay to keep things private. And in doing that, I have, reached out to Casey for advice on this. And at the same time, Casey has been trying to learn how to make friends. So I've been like, we're both trying to do the opposite, which is funny because, like I said, when I was younger, I thought, how does she keep her stuff so quiet and not share things? I didn't understand that because it really was not a part of who I was.
Yeah.
And now I'm having to teach you how to make friends.
You do have to teach me how to make friends.
And you're teaching me that a friend does not have to know every detail of my life.
That's right. So, you know what, though? In you coaching me over this past year and a half, I've made one friend. I've made a friend.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
But when I say
I knew you could do it.
When I say I've made a friend, I say I've made an actual person that I've brought into, I wouldn't say she's in my inner circle, but she's definitely on that outer inner circle. So I trust her with a lot of my information. So it's a quality friendship, right? It's not just one of those quantities. It's a quality friendship.
Gotcha. Was that a dig at me or were you being serious?
No, I'm not digging at you. I assume you're jealous of my quality of friends.
I'm learning.
But she does understand me. She knows how important it is to me that my stuff stays to myself. She recently came to me where there's somebody at work who I don't trust at all, and she knows that. But this person found out something that I had shared with a couple of people, and that person went and had asked her about it. And she came and she said, I pretended like I didn't know anything about it. I said, I don't know. She didn't say anything to me. She said, I do know who shared it with her, but it wasn't me. And I just want you to know that. So she understands it's important to me to keep it quiet. My stuff is my stuff, not everybody's stuff.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, and that the you were able to build that friendship in a way that she understands what's important to you, and she respects that. So I think that's cool. You know what? There it is. New side gig for me. I can teach people on how to make friends, and apparently quality ones at that. So listeners, if you need to learn how to make a friend, I'm available.
She can get you one new friend a year.
One a year. Quality, apparently. Quality.
One quality friend a year. I like it. That's going to be Charlie's friend making coaching services.
Yes.
On the other hand, my coaching services are going to be how to keep your mouth shut.
It's all right here. First, if you guys need to make friends or learn to keep your mouth shut, look no further, because one of us is going to be able to help you.
Make friends or lose friends. It's up to you. Let us know
Yeah.
who you need to talk to.
What do you need to work on? Because we're here to help. You know what's crazy though? In saying that is I share all my stuff, but anyone else's stuff, I can keep it private. My own, I've gotten a lot better about that with coaching from you and awareness on my own end. But for someone else's stuff, I've always been good at keeping it private, not sharing someone else's stuff. So
You absolutely are. That's one of those funny things where I know I could trust you with any of my stuff because you won't tell anybody any of my stuff. You'll just tell them your own stuff.
yeah. Oh, exactly. Yeah. I'll tattle on myself all day long. I wanted to point out here, podcast is an absolute prime example of this because for me, I am not kidding you, listeners. You do not understand how much I share everything with pretty much everyone about my own life. And we decided to keep this quiet because Casey doesn't share. She's like, I don't want to share it. I'm like, are you sure? If we stick with our goal, we're going to be launching in 2-3 weeks. She goes, I'm not ready to share. I'm like, okay. Oh, it killed me. It took everything I have. And one of my friends, like, I could tell you were dying to tell me something one night. And he's like, but you didn't end up breaking it. Like, you didn't spill the beans. And it was hard for me not to, but I was able to do it. So when we put the notice out that we were launching this, people were like, I had no idea you were working on that. I know I was able to keep quiet for once.
Yeah. And what's
We didn't even tell our mom.
You kept quiet, and I, aside from you, who knows all my stuff, the other two people happen to be my kids. I did tell them. But
right.
They weren't saying anything to anybody either.
Yeah.
So see, I shared something, and you didn't.
Yes.
Good coaching on our part.
Yes, we did good. We did good. So, like I was saying that the coaching from you and then my awareness, I obviously in learning the lesson of when to share and when not to, I've had to have that awareness in myself of who are you trusting with that information and who are you sharing that with?
Yeah, and I will say, I think obviously you have gotten so much better about keeping things to yourself. And something I found interesting is you even recently told somebody why you don't share with them anymore. And that, to me,
yeah,
I don't do that. If I don't share with you, I assume it's up to you to understand your behaviors and why I don't share with you. I don't point it out to them. I just stop sharing.
I don't know what made me, I guess I just felt the need to be like, this is why I don't share with you. You immediately shared it with someone else. It wasn't something I was ready to share. And I've had a lot of, this podcast was one thing that I've had to really keep quiet. And then it's public knowledge now, but my day job is going to be shutting down. And I held on to that I shared it with you and mom, and our friend, right? So 3 people knew about it and only 3 people, maybe 5, See, that's how much I say. The 5. In the general sense, I've got 5 people I share my stuff with. Okay, 5 people I share my shit with. 6. Dang it. Okay, 6 is still not bad. But anyways, mine is that I kept that to myself for almost 3 months of not saying anything to anyone, and that was hard. But I also realized how much personal stuff was involved in that for me, which I knew I needed to deal with in my own way before I shared it with anyone else. And in having that knowledge of how I wanted to handle that, it helped me in keeping my mouth shut. But that was hard. I think, though, back to what you're saying about like they can just figure out why their consequences were from their behavior. That new friend you had, that was like, hey, I want you to be aware. Like, I thought it was cool that you set your boundaries so well with her that she was aware of when someone else came to her with your information, of knowing that your boundary got crossed, and she wanted you to be aware of it and also know that it wasn't her, because she values the fact that you trusted her enough, with your information. So I just think that might be one of the hardest parts about building that community is when you do want to make sure that you're on the same page with the person that you're starting to trust.
Yeah, so you have to, obviously I'm such a very clear boundary person. I really am. So in making a new connection, just setting that boundary, you know exactly where I stand on something. And even if you want to strengthen, if you already have, some community in place, like with you, right? You want to strengthen some of that.
Right.
You do have to be on the same page, and you need to have a safe space to be able to talk through things, or even just to feel like you can let loose sometimes. You can just be yourself.
We're definitely not meant to live life alone, right? That's why we need our wolf pack, as Alan likes to say. Thanks for being in my wolf pack. But you do need a community. And I think in having that safe space to share stuff is so highly important. There are times I need to work through something, and as you're well aware, in order for me to work through things, I need to talk about it. And as we discussed, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the episode we discussed it in, but we discussed about keeping a positive attitude and not letting a bad 20 minutes make for a bad day. In my safe space, I want to be able to come vent to you if that's what I need to work through it, and then just move on. And in the past, you'd have friends that didn't understand that, and they'd be like, oh man, you want to have a bitch session? Let's go. And then it just builds. And I'm like, that's not what I'm looking for. I needed this vent in order to work through something, but I don't want to stay in this negative spot. So that's something new I've had to realize too about building some of my new friendships, or strengthening some of the connections I do have right now, is making sure where I set those boundaries at. And setting boundaries was a hard one for me I'm still learning it, for sure. Yeah, it's,
you're right.
Getting your right wolf pack together.
You bring up the wolf pack, and you get to choose the size of your pack, right? And what we talked about earlier, quantity versus quality. You may have a whole lot of people you say are friends, but what's the quality of that friendship? People will laugh at me, but I say things like, yeah, I have one friend. Or
they're like, if your sister, does that count?
Big J and I watched a movie one night, and it was these two friends, and I don't even remember exactly what was going on in the movie. Oh, the friend had died, and the other girl was not pushing her off, even though she needed to. I was like, just push her off. And Big J said, that's easy for you to say. You don't have a best friend that you feel that way about. I said, I have my sister.
Wait, push her off? Like... Wait, was she like pushing her off a cliff or something?
Yeah. Oh, what is this stupid movie? It was a stupid
Wait, so
movie.
you're going to push me off a cliff?
If you were already
Yay
dead?
me for being your one friend? Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, if I'm already dead, just do what you got to do. That's fine.
I'm trying to remember. They climbed a big tower, and then they couldn't get back down, and the friend had died. I think what it was maybe she needed to use her boobs or something to put the phone inside her cleavage and push her off. You know, to protect the phone.
What is happening in this movie?
So that the phone would get to the
then
bottom
in
of
that
the
case,
tower.
You better hope I that dies, because I got a lot of
I know.
a lot of protection in here. Shove your phone.
I'll definitely use Charlie's cleavage to protect my phone and rescue myself. I'll push her right off the tower.
Do it.
It's what she would have wanted.
Rest assured, it is what I would have wanted. You were correct. Utilize my boobs one more time.
Those boobs were made just for me.
Just to save your life.
But
oh man,
back to the quality versus quantity, and choosing the size of your wolf pack per se. You have that inner circle, right? I have these 3 people that are in my inner circle. These 3 people probably know pretty much everything there is to know about me. And it's not that there's not other people that I trust with a lot of my information. It's just I don't trust them with all of my information. So those people would kind of be the outer inner circle, what I would call, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And then there's the way outer circle that is, who I am, and that's about it.
Acquaintances.
Yeah.
I feel weird using the word acquaintance. Anyone I know, if I know them, I'm like, oh, that's my friend. I immediately think, and when I think about it, I'm like, they're an acquaintance. How much time have you spent with them outside of this one setting? None. Then they're an acquaintance, Charlie. They're not your friend. But I just assume everyone is my friend. But that was also, as you were saying that, though, that build in private, celebrate in public, that little saying, and that building in private would be that smaller inner circle. And then the celebrate in public is that outer one. So when you're maybe building things, you don't want all that, as we were talking about earlier, the negative feedback while you're working through something. And you also don't want the wrong person sharing your personal stuff before you're ready to talk about it. So, in you teaching me how to keep my mouth shut, I've started learning who that inner circle is compared to the next layer and the next layer of when people can know my stuff.
You have to have that quantity of people in that outer circle because, so for example, a couple years ago, and sister, just life, I mean, shit hit the fan in my family, right? And
yeah.
Not to get into a ton of details, it was a divorce and Jaybird passing away. It was a lot all at once. When that was happening, I was a complete disaster. Because I was on the phone with you constantly.
Right. Well, and I don't know if you want to mention that you were about to graduate at that time too. So you were trying to continue to finish schooling.
I was in the middle of finals. Yeah. So when you graduate, you have what they call a capstone project, where you spend months researching this one project and putting it together. And that's what I was in the middle of. You have to get it done in a timely fashion in order to get your diploma. I needed that. So, yeah, I was in the middle of that as well. But what I will say is that outer circle of people that I would say just know me. They know who I am. We talk on a semi-regular basis. But a lot of those people,
right,
they really came through for me. And it was little things, right? Even just making sure that there was food in my house. Because guess what? I wasn't going to the store. I was barely eating. So,
yeah, I know.
But it was really hard for me also to accept that help from those people, because they're helping me with something where I would prefer if you didn't even know this about my family, and you do know it, and you're helping me. That was hard.
Okay, yeah, because that's a good point you're making, is being able to accept help, especially in a situation like that, when you didn't want them to even know you needed help. And once again, in those times that I have to remind myself that when I am accepting help, that again, we weren't meant to live life alone. Honestly, it's important to build up your community. I don't think there was ever a time in the history of the world that is like, oh, go out there and be alone. Even back in the old days, the men would hunt in packs while the women stayed and did laundry in packs, or some did laundry and some, did the cooking, and some of the kids were out doing the gardening, or I don't know. Both inner and outer circles, though, for times that life throws a curveball, it's important to have that community built up because we do need that.
I have no problem accepting help from my inner circle, or even kind of that second tier circle. It's just that outer circle that I would not normally share my information with. I have a really hard time accepting help from them.
Yeah. I think that's true, because if they're offering the help, it's because they know something you didn't want them to know. Like, that's
right.
In the time that it's taken me while I've been, whittling down my circle, and how we talked about that word friend, that I've always just thought everyone was my friend. And now I try to use the word acquaintance a little bit better. It was a great word to add to my vocabulary for sure. And knowing that it's still okay, though, to accept help even from that acquaintance circle at times if it's needed.
What's funny to me is in society, oftentimes we can feel like acquaintance is such a negative word. You don't normally introduce somebody and say, well, this is my acquaintance. You say, well, this is my friend. Because you associate acquaintance as a negative thing. Like, oh, they don't really know me.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, absolutely. Like, it was one of the fun joys of the growth for me, is trying to lean into that negative feeling, which I know sounds weird, but that negative feeling it's coming from me setting boundaries. And there's not actually something negative about setting a boundary. It's a form of love for myself. But you're absolutely correct. Anytime I say, oh, this is my acquaintance, I feel odd saying that. And I've noticed I just quit saying much of anything. I'm just, oh, this is so-and-so, and I just say their name.
Yes.
And but when it's a best friend, I make sure to say, oh, this is my best friend. I need to put some label on it for some reason, probably myself. I don't know. But in learning to work on that boundary, I have tried to lean into that, which is not easy. But finding the joy in growth is just saying, hey, that's you loving yourself. You're setting a boundary by not just assuming everyone is your friend, or treating everyone as your friend when they haven't earned the right to be your friend.
I also think of it as a form of love for your acquaintance, because it frees them up to build up their better connections, right? They have their own inner circle that they're working with. And they need to have time to build those connections and feel free from needing to build up your friendship that is really just an acquaintanceship. So I don't know. I think it's just, you got to quit putting that negative outlook on being an acquaintance. And I don't know if it's just society that you want to make somebody feel like they're a more important part of your life than they are, or something. I don't know.
Maybe. It's interesting you ask it that way, because yeah, is it societal to want someone to feel like they're more important to you? I was also thinking about the fact that, for instance, on Facebook, or back when you had MySpace, let me age ourselves. Everyone was your friend that you added.
But you could rank them.
Like, they call it a friend. Oh yeah, on MySpace you could rank them. You got to get someone's top 5. That was awesome. They should bring that shit back.
Right?
Feel like, remember, girls get in fights. You're not in my top 5. Are you kidding me? Like, I had you at 1 and you have me at 3. Okay, man. Sorry? What the hell? Like,
I'm like, you're in 10th spot down here. What do you got me at number 1 for? That's weird.
you're like, I don't even talk to you. Oh, man. Oh, dude, honestly, this day and age, I cannot imagine how cutthroat that would actually get. Because when you could do 5s, it wasn't as crazy as what I think social media is now. So that would actually probably get insane.
Oh, yeah.
But when you said you don't want to waste that person's time in building something if you're not feeling it, it's in being honest from the get-go, it saves everyone confusion. So if you kind of just meet someone and you're like, I don't know if I want to build this much further than that, then you just step back and you slowly see if that's going to go anywhere past that, so that you're not wasting their time or they're not wasting yours, right? Like for me, I had to reevaluate who I could trust in order to rebuild my inner circle and, keep the safe ones in and reestablish boundaries and pull back, from those that maybe shouldn't have gone to that clear inner spot in the first place. And it's a mix of people for different things. If you need emotional support or just like having fun, goofing around, as we were talking about earlier, like a place to vent like your frustrations so you don't carry around, like all those people, they don't have to necessarily be in your inner circle, but they do still make up your whole community of people. And so I don't know if calling someone a friend, like you said, is societal. I'm just now thinking a little bit more about that. How does that play into what we do? Because when I say friend, I immediately feel, oh, I can trust you. And so I have to use the word acquaintance to remind myself that that person is not in my inner circle.
Mm-hmm. Right. And on the other hand, I've had to learn that it's okay to take some people that I would normally say are outer and bring them at least into that second tier. My second tier of inner, and just putting more time and energy into those relationships to try to build it up more, so that that person knows that I'm there if they need me, or if I needed them for something. It's about building that connection stronger. And I have had to learn it's okay to bring some people in.
True. And I do not know why I just thought of this, but you want to be careful how many you bring in, because then they start asking you to help move or watch their kids or something. You're like, no. You misunderstood this friendship.
I'm sorry, let me push you back on out to that outer circle.
Stay on back there. I joke a little though, because I truly, on this life, I have been blessed seriously in my friendships, in having even, friends from second grade on that I still talk to and still have relationships with. And so I've been very blessed in those that are really long-standing relationships that even if we go years without seeing each other, we can reconnect and catch up. So that is really awesome. And in reestablishing that circle, or what I consider, if you will, my inner circle, I realized some of those people, even they might not realize I consider them inner circle, but I know if I see them, I'm completely comfortable talking to them about stuff.
I don't want people to think I don't have any friends, right? And like you said, though,
you said you have 2
friends that I would say are still part of my inner circle. And, like I said, when everything happened a couple years ago, I have a friend who, now I made this friend when I was 19, but we were very close, and she's quality, solid friendship. She ended up messaging me one day and saying, hey, I noticed you changed your last name on Facebook. What's going on? And when I started telling her, she said, why didn't you call me? I would have come and taken care of you. Do you need me? And I thought, gosh, we haven't seen each other in at least 12 years. But her immediate response was, why didn't you call me? Do you need me to come down there? Do you need
That's
me to come
awesome.
take care of you? I was like, no, I think I've got it handled at this point.
And that's where sometimes you don't realize how important some of those friendships are, even over the years. So in building your community, it's just, got to remind yourself that there's people that you may have thought never would be your friend that you end up friends with for years, that you're thinking, man, when I first met you, I didn't think that was going anywhere.
Yeah.
And then you have people who, like you said, you haven't talked to in years, but when push comes to shove, they're right there saying, hey, what did you need, or why didn't you let me know that? And that's cool. There's nothing like feeling that kind of love, honestly,
Yeah.
from someone else for you, especially when you're in hard times. But when I'm having a joyous time too, and I'm feeling good, I want people to feel that too. I enjoy sharing that as well with people, the good stuff. And I think that it's just so crazy over this past couple of years that we decided to work on opposite sides at the same time, because thankfully it gave us both a bunch of sounding boards. The amount of times we'd call each other, I'm going to call you out just a little bit here. You called and you said, well, we were going to meet for a drink, but it didn't happen, so I shouldn't go. And I think the friend had to cancel or something. And I was like, okay, but if you couldn't go, I'm like, well, it's your turn to ask. Like, you need to ask. And you're like, what? You're like, no, I mean, she knows I'll go. I'm like, no, now you need to actually ask, because she did ask. You had to cancel in order to show you're a friend. You now need to say, hey, I really wanted to get that drink. Do you want to reschedule? And you're like, that's what I have to do. And I remember being like, what is wrong with you?
Do you know I still never did it?
Oh, dude, I never followed up. That's some bad coaching on my part.
I'm like, I just can't
Put
do
that in my
it.
review.
This coach had no follow through.
Well, maybe that friendship wasn't meant to be for you.
I think it's safe to say we just both still have a lot of work to do in this area, just on opposite sides.
Yes, I definitely do. Like, I still have to. I've learned to keep my mouth shut better.
You have.
Have we just, those two things this past? You know what? It was tried a lot in this past 6 months for me. I was definitely put to the test a little bit on that, and I thought, I mean, granted, I'm like 3 people, no 5, well 6 people knew my stuff, but 6 compared to, let me tell you, audience, a year ago, 6 would have been like, oh, like 20 people already knew what was going on within 2 days. So there's progress being made.
There is.
Yes. So I would say our lesson learned and growth earned on this one is building a dependable community for yourself is vital for a full and healthy life. Learning who to give access to in that community is completely up to you and is always open to change if you see fit. Remember, we were not meant to go through this life alone, and it's okay to be selective on who does have full access.
In our next episode, we will explore love languages. You're going to get our hot take on that. Thanks for listening. Until next time, go out there and be your favorite self.
Yes. And if you have a topic you'd like us to discuss for a future episode, shoot us an email at adulthoodisaproject@gmail.com. Make sure to like and subscribe on your favorite listening platform to catch all of our future episodes, and leave us a comment if you want to chat.